Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest podcast. I am Eric Kane alongside Austin Price and Brent Hubbs here. The General's Quarters, you can find all the latest happenings in Tennessee Volunteers athletics, Tennessee football, the final week of the regular season, what happens this weekend against Vanderbilt, big-time game, plus bowl aspirations. Where's Tennessee going to go bowling? Tennessee basketball is playing in Las Vegas this week. Signing day is 2 weeks away. There's loads and loads of content over on the General's Quarters and Volquest.com, and you can be a part of that right now. If you're listening and watching, we thank you. If you're not a member, come join us for your first week, $1. That's all it costs, $1 for your first week. Come check us out and link up with us. The best place to stay up to date, best information, best nuggets, best conversations on your Tennessee Volunteers. That is Volquest.com. All right, so big week coming up this week. Tennessee Vanderbilt. We'll get to Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia conversation coming up on Saturday here in a few minutes. But let's quickly look back again, kind of put a bow tie on that Tennessee football win on the road in the Swamp. Hadn't happened since 2003 until the other night. It was a complete and utter domination by the Tennessee Volunteers, Austin Price. And again, it was kind of one of those other checks. You know, Josh Heupel's accomplished this, check, check, check. And that was kind of another one in a season that you're not going to make the playoff, and, you know, you lose your quarterback the last day of spring practice, and we can, you know, talk about is this success, not success, all that later on. But that was a big deal in this season, Tennessee beating Florida on the road.
Absolutely. Anytime you can win at the Swamp, it's a big deal. I don't care if Florida's over or undefeated. Anytime you can win down there, it's a big deal just because it's been so hard to win down there. And that game kind of, to me, was similar to the season in general. Like, if you had said before the game, Tennessee's going 31-11, 1 million out of 1 million Tennessee fans are going to say, check, sign me up, boom. But then you're up 31-0 at the half, and you just kind of coasted from there. And everybody's like, oh, you could have put more. And you probably could have, right? But you still won by 20 at the Swamp. Kind of like this season. If you said before the season, Tennessee's going to go 9-3 with a quarterback that didn't get her till the burgers were coming off the barbecue at Memorial Day, you would have been happy with that based off of Nico leaving in spring and kind of Tennessee being in this weird place. But then again, the season plays out a certain way, and you're like, oh, what could have been? Again, you got to go and win this weekend to get to 9-3, potentially win a bowl game to get to 10 wins. But this team, while flawed, has also, I think performed really, really well given the circumstance. And, it seems, Brent, to be playing its best football right here collectively at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be. I mean, they've certainly played better. I mean, that was a complete performance at Florida. It was a different type of performance offensively, but they played well. The thing that I like about this team, and I think I like the personality of this team because I just think they like to play. I think this is a group of guys that just likes to compete and likes to play. And I think that showed up Saturday night. Yeah, they understood the task. They understood it had been, 20 years, but that was the next game. And for that team, they wanted to go play and get it done. And it meant a lot for them to get it done. I think they'll be ready to play this week. I do think they're playing better defensively, Eric. Offensively, my biggest takeaway was they played a patient brand of football. And I like seeing that out of them, that they didn't – it wasn't just kind of feast or famine for them offensively, that they kind of played that game in a different way. And I think it was fun to watch and see kind of the continued growth and evolution of this offense. Can they do that again another week?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they were really patient. Obviously, with the way Florida was playing them defensively, it was kind of one of those let's not let Aguilar throw over our heads. And I thought Tennessee did a really good job of kind of taking what was given to them. I thought that the offensive game plan, I love some of the wrinkles we saw. I love the first the touchdown to tight end Ethan Davis. I thought that was nice. And, yeah, you brought it up, man. Like, there was still a true three-man rotation in the backfield, even with Peyton Lewis out, with Juwan Moore stepping up, and that was great to see him. But, man, they rode Deshaun Bishop. And, when they needed a yard on 3rd and 1, on 4th and 1, even when the game was, kind of, handled, they brought back him in and let him go to work. He had 16 first-half carries, and that was really, really good to see. So I thought Tennessee went out there and did what he needed to do, completely dominated, ran the football with authority. And it kind of got me thinking, guys, Tennessee's had a bunch of big wins. I'm not talking the cupcake games or anything like that, but complete and utter dominance. Like, did Tennessee dominate LSU in 2022 like this? Did Tennessee dominate Missouri 2021 like this. I mean, was this the most complete dominating performance that we've seen of the Josh Heupel era? Because again, in that first half specifically, I mean, it rained, it poured. I mean, to begin the second half, like calls the fair catch, doesn't make the fair catch, down to the 2. Like it was that type of night for Florida. They had a big gain on the second play of the game, and it got called back for holding. I don't think I've seen this Tennessee team dominate another opponent, at least SEC opponent or Power 4 opponent, like what we saw in Florida on Saturday.
I would take the LSU game as a more dominant performance because LSU's a better team.
Yeah, they were.
They're a more talented team. You had the kickoff to start, which was a fumble. Tennessee got the early 4th down stop, much like they did in the Florida game. To me, that was as dominant as you be against a better opponent than Florida was. And I don't want to take anything away, Austin, from what Tennessee accomplished at Florida. But, I mean, Florida didn't have a lot of fight in them in the second half. And LSU, lost their fight down there. Maybe they never had it. But to me, it felt like the LSU game was a more impressive performance against talent. The Florida game was impressive because you just exercised all the demons emphatically on Saturday night.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, again, it was time and place. The 2022 game against LSU was coming off the win over Florida, coming off the overtime narrow win at Pittsburgh, and it was just different. This one was, to me, I called it going in a no-win situation. If you win, everybody's going to go, well, of course, they're 3-7. You're supposed to win. And if you lose, everybody goes, what the heck? You just lost to a 3-7 team. But Tennessee did what they were supposed to do. They came out there, they jumped on them early. I think Tennessee's got to do the same thing Saturday. I think they've got to find ways to get stops. That's why Tennessee's defense getting off the field Saturday against Vanderbilt's got to be so big. And so, I mean, I just continue to be impressed by the growth in the defense, the tackling. Are they perfect? No. They still have a couple of things that are mind-boggling. Even that first sack of the game, Lagway's out there and he makes like 3 guys miss before like the numbers 4 and 5 got him to the ground. And that part, that's how good Lagway can be when he's doing his thing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you came out there, you did what you're supposed to do, and Florida was like at halftime, they're like, all right, guys, let's just get out here and run the clock and get out of here and get back to the dorms.
I mean, they threw it 7 times in the second half, down 31-0. 7 times. That's all Florida threw it in the second half. They didn't even try from that standpoint. Again, I don't want to take anything away from Tennessee because Tennessee did it to them in the first half. Tennessee broke everything about them in the first half with what they did, scoring touchdowns on 4 straight possessions, Eric. But, I mean, 7 passing attempts in the second half tells me, like, no mas. We done. We got enough, man. Thanks. We don't want to get beat 56-3, so we're going to wave the flag and we'll take a 31-0 loss here, or ended up being 31-7, and put a little lipstick on that pig and get out of here and move on to the next one.
They were so proud when they made the field goal and kept their streak going of whatever games in a row where they've got at least a point. Like that. No, and again, I love Joey Aguilar, but like the whole 200-yard streak to me is about the same as that. Like it's just, it's a streak, sure, but I mean, like it's not like it's like the end all be all thing. It's like, wow, you scored a point, Florida. Way to go.
I understand that is
and I know it's part of it was like begrudgingly kind of mocking, but at the same time, like that was the whole thing. Don't you remember when they kicked the field goal in the bowl game a couple of years ago to continue the streak?
I cannot believe that. And I understand it's a very long streak, but again, you were down 31-0, and you kick. I just at the time I just could not fathom them doing that. But anyways, it is what it is. It got me thinking, and we talked about this some here early in the week. How much better is Tennessee's defense right now? I'm not suggesting Tennessee's defense has turned a corner and all of a sudden you're closer to the 2024 brand than the 2025 brand, but they have played better. Now, they missed too many tackles in the Florida win. They've missed 14, which is almost 10 more than what they've done the last 2 weeks, missing 5. But they are playing better. There hasn't been a real down-the-field threat passing, though. So your corners are playing more confident. Your secondary is playing better. They're flying downhill. I think Tennessee's linebackers have played a whole lot better. I thought Tennessee's linebackers had a really good game against Florida, and part of that's because Florida's offense sucks. But I want to know, in your guys' opinion, what does that mean for Tennessee's defense against an offense that is highly touted, high caliber, with a quarterback that can do an awful lot. How much better do you think Tennessee's defense is equipped now based on their play the last month to go against the Commodores?
I think for me, this defense, it's about individuals getting better. We'll see how that translates into 11-on-11 football against a really good offense, an explosive offense. But it's improvement of Ty Redmond is obvious regardless of your competition. If you don't think Arion Carter makes a difference, then go back and rewatch the game, and you'll see an explosive, athletic Arion Carter who's healthy, and I think that makes a difference for Tennessee. Tennessee's ends are going to have to play really well in this football game on Saturday. But I think the other thing, Austin, is Tennessee is communicating better. Other than the two wheel routes, I don't think Tennessee has had the amount of bust that they were having, whether it was Kentucky or certainly early in the year as well. And I think that's been a positive thing for Tennessee. But in terms of improvement, I think it's more about individuals than anything else right now.
Well, Cubs, my stance. The wheel route's always open. So when
It
they
is.
do the wheel route, it's what happens. I mean, it's always open. It certainly was the other night than the two times they ran it. But I do think they're communicating better. I think the rotation in some ways has expanded, but it's also decreased. And I think you look at linebacker. It's expanded from early in the year, but like in the secondary, it's decreased, especially. At the star spot. I mean, it's Jalen McMurray's world, and when he's in there, and they're running, nickel, and when he's not in there, they're probably not, because I'm not sure they feel comfortable rolling with anybody at that position. And we'll see kind of where things go, but they certainly do seem like they're clicking more unified than they have at any point this season, and I think part of that is the communication of things.
Hey, college football fans, it's time to lock in on those Saturday showdowns, the final game of the regular season. Take your excitement to the next level with a Parlay Boost token from BetMGM. You can log into your BetMGM account today and receive your token. Then add any college football parlay to your bet slip and apply that token. Just make sure that the bet is a minimum stake, odds, and legs specified on the token. If your boosted parlay hits, you'll score a bigger payout. Claim your Parlay Boost token and make this season unforgettable with BetMGM. Make it legendary again with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus or older. U.S. promotion offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NY. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. AZ 1-800-327-5050-MA 1-800-BETS-OFF-IA 1-800-981-0023-PR. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards and non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Make it legendary with BetMGM today. And when you rep your team, don't stop with just the jersey. Dollar Shave Club's collegiate razor handles combine grooming with glory, letting students, grads, and fans show their school spirits in style. From the sink to the stadium, shave with school pride. Visit dollarshaveclub.com to grab your college handle today and go Vols. Brent, I want to ask you this. Tennessee ran more 4-3. We're down way back to 5 years ago when 4-3 was a normal defensive scheme. It's now been 4-2-5 everywhere, even in the high school ranks. We see it every week, Austin. Tennessee ran more 4-3, base 4-3 in this football game than they have ever. Now, in years past and earlier this year as well, you combat 12 personnel with 4-3. Tim Banks has done that. Florida was in 12 personnel a lot. But is it a situation where maybe right now, given where you are without Boo Carter and Jalen McMurray, your only star, that maybe that's a way just to get your best guys on the field right now? And if so, would you expect to see more 4-3 against Vanderbilt?
I think you try it at some point as a part of a rotation deal, but I don't know if you can live in it because Vanderbilt is explosive and Florida's not. I mean, particularly with the injuries they are, where they are at receiver with their injuries, with just how everything's playing. They don't scare you down the field. New Mexico State didn't scare you down the field. Quite frankly, Oklahoma doesn't scare you down the field. Vanderbilt can go vertical on you. That's an explosive offense. And they've got a tight end who's as good as anybody in this league. So can you play that? What can you do scheme-wise? Can you defend them with 4-3? I don't know. Do I think they try it some? Perhaps. but do they live in it and play it as much as they did in the Florida game? Well, I don't know if you can with some of the dynamics and the weapons that Vanderbilt has. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a point in time where Tim Banks probably shows it. But I will say this, too. If I were Jalen McMurray, I would eat my Wheaties because he might go back to playing every snap like he was early in the year.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Again, it's the way the game has evolved, and it's why you don't see 4-3 anymore. You got to take a linebacker out, play 4-2-5, put an extra DB out there. The old nickel is what you called it, back when 4-3 or 3-4 was your base defense, and that's why you see it. It's just the way the game's changed. Austin, if you're Tim Banks, how are you defending Vanderbilt? How are you defending Diego Pavia? Which we can go down the list right here, but he is literally a Heisman hopeful. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference, and he's been on an absolute tear the last week against Auburn, Kentucky, and I guess Texas. I mean, he's averaging like nearly 400 yards passing, a little bit over. He's got a rushing touchdown in his last 5 games. I mean, he's on a tear right now. How are you defending him?
His growth as a passer has been really impressive. I mean, it really has. I mean, the bravado and stuff, I get why fans don't really much care for him unless you're a Vanderbilt guy. But, I mean, his growth as a passer has been really, really impressive. And he's got some weapons to throw to. I do think his age helps, much like it helps Joey. And I think, his charisma, his bravado, all that stuff is something that the teammates just kind of grab a hold of his cape, to use a Superman reference, and just kind of get drug along. And thus it picks up their play. If I'm Tim Banks, though, I'm trying to be aggressive. I think you want to come after him to a degree. I mean, yeah, he can make plays with his legs, and it certainly could cost you when you do. But I think to get them in negative yardage plays and push them and make them play behind the sticks is pivotal in this football game. Because, again, he's great throwing the deep ball and stuff. I still would rather don't let him have that option to be on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, where he can do it with either his legs or his arm. Make him play at 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, even 3rd and 8 and 9, where it's more of a pass-heavy down, and make him complete passes. As much as he's grown, make him complete passes to beat you.
Yeah, I thought last year, Brent, Tennessee did a really good job of putting pressure on him, and I think he was a bit banged up in that game. But, I mean, Tennessee erased him. I mean, he was a non-factor last year in that football game, and it's because Tennessee got after him and hit him pretty hard early on. I'm curious to know if Tim Banks wants to kind of dial up that pressure. And you got to show different looks, and you can't live in one certain thing, and I recognize that. I mean, that's just defense. But I would play this game super aggressive. Going back to what Austin said, I mean, make him make the throws. Don't be like Kentucky and say, you're not going to throw it over our heads. And Tennessee's like, or you're not going to run it all down our throats. And Joey Aguilar goes 7 for 7 down the field, passing at 20 yards or more. I would just make him earn it. If you earn it, okay. But I would play this super aggressive and try to force him into bad decisions and try to hit him as much as possible. Because again, pretty much anything they want to accomplish offensively on the ground or through the air, it runs through Pavia.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to mix it up. I think you're trying to make him uncomfortable. At times you want him to try to read some stuff, and at times you're wanting to move him and speed him up. I think at times you want to test his patience. I mean, I don't think you can zero in on one thing and just let him be comfortable. I think you have to do it. I think you have to communicate really well and be multiple in some things that you do. They're gonna move the ball. They're going to get some yards. I think when you look at what's a key stat in this game, who gets the red zone stops? Who finishes with red zone touchdowns and who finishes with red zone field goals? I think that's a huge thing in this game because I don't think this is going to be 24-17 is your final or 21-17 is your final. I just think there's going to have to be more points here for both teams to win it. And that's not a knock on their defense, but both teams are offensive teams. That's kind of where you are. So red zone stops. Can you force field goals? Tennessee did a good job in the red zone offensively against Florida, with the exception of the red zone trip where they didn't try to score a touchdown at the end of the first half. But Vanderbilt, their percentage, I think I've got it right in front of me here. Their percentage, how do you like that? Pull that one right out of my hat.
I got it right here.
They have touchdowns on 40 of 52 trips in the red zone. That's a really high conversion rate for touchdowns. Tennessee has 40 touchdowns and 56 trips. Who's going to force field goals? What defense is going to force field goals? Because, I mean, Vanderbilt's averaging 458 yards of offense. Tennessee's 491. Do we think somebody's going to be stonewalled offensively? And all of a sudden, one of these two defenses is just going to just absolutely slam and put the handcuffs on an offense? Probably not. So who finishes in the red zone? Key stat. Who gets explosives? Another key stat. Those are the things that I think you look at in this game. And how can you limit the explosive big plays to make sure they're not touchdowns, and how do you force field goals in the red zone?
You better avoid those lulls as well. I mean, if you go a couple of series where you're 3-and-out or you have a turnover or whatever, and that turnover leads to points, and your offense, Austin, cannot afford to have a lull. Because, again, I'm not saying this will be a 56-48 shootout, but I agree it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think Tennessee's defense is playing better, but how much better is that going to show on the scoreboard on Saturday? So offensively, you've got to avoid those lows. I'm not talking about the second half of Florida when you're up 31-0. I'm talking about the second quarter against Georgia, the second quarter or the third quarter against Syracuse, that type of stuff when you're going against that offense on the other side.
Well, here's the other thing too. It looks like Tennessee jumps out and gets out of the gate Saturday. You better keep your foot on the gas. Florida tapped out. Vanderbilt, you went to the Texas game. They did not tap out. They kept coming and they kept coming and they kept coming.
Mm-hmm.
And once you go into that kind of like, I won't say stall mode or just try to get it to triple zeros way of thinking, it's hard to just turn the engine back on. I mean, like, to me, like, I'm not saying be negligent and put the ball in harm's way. What I'm saying, though, is, call it still aggressive. Call to score points. Like, I mean, at times Saturday, and I know they took a couple of shots in the second half, but I mean, like, they still, for the most part in the second half, they knew Florida had tapped out, so they're like, that's fine. We'll just get out of here. We'll just keep running it and not doing anything.
Well, they only had 3 possessions. I mean,
yeah.
And one of them got ended because they had back-to-back penalties.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Okay? I mean, that killed your
first mistake in the first half. No penalties in the first half except for the one delay, which was intentional.
And then you have back-to-back, which killed that drive.
And you started one at first and 25, yeah.
Yeah. Then you had the next drive where you missed the field goal. And then you had the last drive where you just milked the clock. And, I mean, you could have scored if you wanted to there. But that was it in the second half. I don't think this is that type of game. I don't think this is a 6-possession total for 2 teams and a half of football. You don't see that in college football very often. I don't think you'll see that on Saturday. To your point, Austin, you better not think you're going to play that kind of game in the second half. And you got to continue to be aggressive and continue to try to go score because, Vanderbilt's not going to be on their back just laying there waiting for the game to end like Florida was.
Yeah, and again, you're right. I mean, that Texas game, they were up 17. Texas being up 17-0. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Texas go up 24-3 at one point? I mean, Vanderbilt just kept.
They
chipping
were up
away.
A lot. I don't remember exactly, but it was
just kept chipping away. So yeah, if you have a 2-touchdown lead or whatever, yeah, you're exactly right. You cannot go into cruise control at all. So what you're saying is, if you have an opportunity to score before the half, do you take the shots? I think in a game like this, you absolutely take those shots, no doubt.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's what you knew. You knew 28 points at the half was going to be good enough to win that game Saturday night. Florida wasn't scoring 28 in the second half. You went and got the field goal to make it 31. I would have taken a shot there to go up 35, if nothing. But, in this game, that's not your mentality because 28's not going to be enough. You got to go score it. I think what's interesting with these two teams, when you look at the stats, they mirror image each other stat-wise. I mean, they're really, I mean, Tennessee's given up 247 yards a game in pass defense. The secondary gives up, Tim Banks' defense gives up 247 a game. Vanderbilt gives up 248. Tennessee gives up 132 yards rushing. Vanderbilt 105. I mean, Tennessee's +3 in turnovers. Vanderbilt's +4 in turnovers. Vanderbilt's converting 52% of their third downs. Tennessee 49%. I mean, they're really a mirror image statistically of each other in a lot of ways. And, who just goes and executes better, who plays better in this game is what it boils down to. And a lot of it will stem from the quarterback. And I think the quarterback part of this, Austin, is really interesting too. Do either one of these guys press? Do either one of these guys try to do too much? What's Joey Aguilar's what's the biggest issue most of us have had with Aguilar up until Saturday night in Gainesville? Greedy, right? Took too many chances. Does he play that way? Does he play under control? Do they help him play under control? What do they do? What does Tennessee do offensively to help manage that? And then on the flip side, we all know Diego Pavia's had this game circled for a year. Where's he emotionally? He seems to thrive the more emotional he is, but can Tennessee use that to their advantage? Does he try to do too much in this game?
Yeah, it's why I would take the ball. It's why I would take the ball. And we talked about this on the 2-minute drill Monday. If I won the toss, I wouldn't defer. I would take the ball. You want to establish it's Tennessee. It's Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. Let's ride. Let's go. Go down and score. And then put the pressure on him to try to answer. And I think that's kind of my mentality if I'm Tennessee is I want, listen, you are the longtime favorite in this rivalry. Go out and play like it, but understand and respect them for they are better than your yesterday's Vanderbilt team. I mean, they're a really good football team. And they've done a lot of good things, on both sides of the ball all year. Now, again, I think they're way better offensive than they are defensively, but they're still a very mature football team. They're the oldest team in the SEC, but they're all driven by him. If he were to play bad, it does make you wonder, like, can they pick him up? And because let's face it, he's carried them to this point, to 9-2. He's carried them.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the defense is going to pick him up, and there's not. I mean, Stowers is a terrific player, but if Pavia is ineffective, Stowers is ineffective. They don't. I mean, Alexander's a pretty good back, but it's not like he's going to take over a football game. So it is interesting. You go from one week where, like, you got to approach a Florida team that had done some good things on tape this year. But at the end of the day, it was 3-7 when you entered that game. But you had to get in that mindset saying, okay, can't look at the record. And now you're going to a week to where historically you've just beat the brakes off this team. But now you're seeing them like, man, this is legit a college football playoff caliber program. And again, like, they see the tape, they're going to know that they're a good football team. Obviously, you watch football, you see highlight tapes, you know they're a good football team. But it's kind of weird the mental gymnastics you're going from one week to the next week when Florida's typically good. They're down this year, but you got to treat them like they're good. Vanderbilt's typically bad. Vanderbilt's really good this year. And you got to approach it, with a clean mindset each and every game. I know I just rambled there, but I thought it was kind of interesting one week to the next.
You look at the schedule here, Eric. They're 2-2 on the road. They won at Virginia Tech and at South Carolina. Those are two teams that aren't very good. And then their two losses, they competed hard at Alabama. Alabama pulled away in the second half and won by a couple double digits, won by 16. Then Alabama beat Tennessee by 17. Same spot, Melbourne, Tuscaloosa. And then they lost a game at Texas where they fell way behind. So if you look at their 4 road games, that's where they've had the bugaboo is on the road. And, at least the last 2 especially. And again, the first 2 weren't very good opponents. South Carolina has been a struggle bus, and Virginia Tech already made their coaching change shortly after Diego Pavia went up and down the field on them.
For Tennessee to win this game, outside of protecting the football, winning the turnover battle, the basic things, what does Tennessee have to accomplish in this one, Brent?
I think you got to win the red zone. I mean, I think you've got to limit the explosives, make Vanderbilt drive the field, and then you've got to force field goals. You got to get some critical stops in the red zone because I don't think you're going to shut them out. And on the flip side of that, Tennessee's got to finish in the red zone. Can't settle for field goals if you're Tennessee. You got to be a good red zone team. I'm going to come back to that stat all week. I think the red zone stat will tell a lot about who wins this football game Saturday.
I think it's very similar to the Florida deal for me. I mean, you've got to get out of the gates. You can't do like you did last year. And I know last year was weird. They run the kickoff back and all that. Tuberville, right through that end zone every time. But I think you got to get out of the gates, get up on them early, and try to knock them out early. You let him in his line of thinking, his confidence, all that. Let him get into a fourth quarter game with you. I don't think that's good. I think you've got to get out of the gates and get up on them and make them press in this football game.
I like the edge players on defense. Got to have a big week from the Don Baileys, the Tyree West, the Joshua Josephs, the Caleb Herrings. All those guys playing out there on the edge. Not only to keep contain and force inside, but also squeeze those gaps down low, squeeze those gaps, make him bounce, and then go make a play. anytime you have a dual threat quarterback, and man, he's much more than just a dual threat quarterback. I mean, he is their run game. Like, they run everything through him. It's really, really important for those edge players to go and need to have a good day. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, so much on the line for Vanderbilt. Obviously, needs some help most likely, but obviously they want to beat Tennessee, and they need to look good doing it. Tennessee, of course, doesn't want to lose the third game at home. Senior day, playing at Neyland Stadium, and of course trying to finish the regular season 9-3. Couple quick hitters before we say goodbye. Brent, if Tennessee wins this game and Tennessee finishes 9-3, it's a guessing game, but where do you think Tennessee could be going bowling?
I think Tampa makes a lot of sense. I think it depends on how some things go around the rest of the conference, but I think there would be some real interest from Tampa in having Tennessee. Tennessee's got a great reputation for traveling. I know there's a lot of talk of playoff or bust out there, but I think the reputation for Tennessee as a team that travels would certainly be appealing to Tampa. If you lose this game, then I think it's a toss-up in there. I mean, Jacksonville, it would certainly be on the docket. I wouldn't rule out Nashville completely. But again, I think some of that depends on what happens with Texas A&M, what happens in the Iron Bowl, who gets into playoffs, who doesn't get into playoffs. All of those things, I think, kind of factor into what this thing looks like. When it's all said and done. I mean, remember, if you've got a team. Let's say Vanderbilt wins and they have 10 wins. You can't take an 8-win team over them I don't think, for the Citrus Bowl. Isn't that rule still in place, Austin, where you can't take someone with 2 less wins because their fan base travels better? So if Vanderbilt wins and gets left out of the playoff, they're probably bound for Orlando, I would imagine. Then how does it shake out from there? I mean, we'll see. I think it's let's put it this way. If I'm a Tennessee fan and I'm planning on going to a bowl game, I'm not making any travel arrangements this week. I'm going to wait and see how some things shake out because it could be in a lot of places, right, Austin?
It could be. You easily could be sitting there in Tampa. I don't think Orlando's really an option because I think Orlando would covet Texas. They've never had the chance to have the Longhorns, and if the Longhorns lose to the Aggies or just don't get in the college football playoff, even if they were to beat Texas A&M, then I think that they would take Texas. And so Tampa makes the most sense with a win. With a loss, maybe Jacksonville, but could easily fall to Charlotte or Nashville, which, again, nobody wants. So, the easiest thing to do is for Tennessee to go out there and win. And, Eric, what would a team look like if Tennessee, whatever bowl they're in, what does the team look like as far as, you have people opt out? Does someone like Colton Hood play in a bowl game? And then what about quarterback? Joey Aguilar, there's all the talk of the suit and stuff, and he's downplayed that. We've talked about that in the post-game pod and on the message board a little bit. But I think regardless of what happens with Joey long-term, I think you would see Joey play in the bowl game because I think that's who he is, and I think that's how he'd want to go out.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the norm nowadays. I mean, especially if you're not making the playoff, for some of these perceived to be high-round draft picks to kind of opt out of these bowl games. So, there used to be kind of a stink with that. I mean, that's just the normal, show of business now. Like, in my mind, like, I would assume, and again, I'm not speaking for him, Darnell Wright played in the bowl game. Byron Young played in the bowl game a couple years ago, so there are exceptions. But, like, in my mind, like, Chris Brazzell, is he a guy that plays in the bowl? I don't know. But I'm with you, too. Like, Joey Aguilar is not going to be a, top 3-round pick in the NFL draft. I see him playing, especially trying to maximize the last, if this is the last little bit of his college career. I certainly see him making that bowl game. But it will be interesting, kind of what's this team look like and who are some of these young guys that could step up and play. A chance for some more practice. Some of these early enrollees will get a chance to get out there on the practice field. So that'll be exciting. And then that kind of leads me into my next point. Win, lose, whatever, Sunday's coming, and then there's Monday. And then Tennessee's kind of in no man's land until the conference championship's up, the college football playoff bracket's set, and then you can officially know kind of what you're doing for bowl and all that. But, Brent, what's the first phase of the offseason? Like, what should we expect as fans? Probably not going to hear anything. Transfer portal is not until January. Signing day is still a week away. But what's going to be happening next week?
Well, I mean, next week I think it's probably just everybody catches their breath a little bit. But I mean, let's face it. The reality is, come a week from Saturday, everybody expects the first domino to fall in college football from a coach's carousel standpoint, right? Isn't that haven't we dubbed that, Judgment Day in Oxford is after the Egg Bowl, and something happens at that point. If something were to happen, then you start to see the real wheels in motion with some dominoes. Who's going where, and then you start to think about, okay, staff. What does the staff look like? Are there some people on the Tennessee staff that have opportunities at other places? To me, that's the domino that falls as you approach, signing day. And maybe everybody holds off till after signing day, Austin. Maybe nobody really works on their staff until after signing day. And then after that, they really start to put things together. So it may be a quiet week until after signing day. And then the coaches stuff may really go crazy around the country.
Yeah, and I still think at minimum you're going to see a lot of innuendos, a lot of speculation, a lot of people trying to get out ahead of things.
I mean, I think you're going to see head coaching movement before signing day, but I don't know about all the assistant stuff.
Yeah, correct. But I think you'll start to see some stuff like kind of bannered about out there about assistant coaches, even if things don't become official until after signing day.
Next week they'll start exit interviews, I would imagine, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And it would not shock me if you start seeing, again, the portal is not open until January, but these graphics being made. Love this place, love my teammates, love my fans. Having said that, I do intend to enter the transfer portal. I think we're going to start seeing those graphics maybe as early as next week as well, because that's what this month's going to be like. Again, the portal's not opening, but you're going to get this public announcement of intentions, and then that's just going to continue to heat up all those conversations, the back channeling and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at guys, you talked about Brazel. Let's say Brazel gets, I think like 75 yards or whatever it needs Saturday. Let's say he comes up 10 yards short Saturday. I mean, does he play the bowl game just to try to get that 1,000 yards, or at least
it's important to him, so that wouldn't shock me.
It's important to him. I mean, Lance Hurd, where's he at? Deshaun Bishop's going to play in a bowl game. But like you look at the secondary, a guy like Colton Hood's a perfect example. Then who's opposite Ty Redmond at that point? You know what I mean? Like a bowl game it's going to be interesting for every school. I mean, look at Michigan last year; they didn't have anybody. Like it was like third and fourth stringers, and they went out there and competed and beat Alabama. So. I mean, that month is going to be, going to be a thrill a minute for everybody involved.
Well, and that gets me to this question. And as we get ready to put a bow tie on this podcast, I don't know if you saw what Nick Saban said on game day on Saturday about if he basically implying if he were in charge, which a lot of people would like for him to be in charge, but if he were in charge, then they were talking about Lane Kiffin. And he said, don't blame Lane. Like the conundrum that Lane's in it's not all Lane's fault. Now, publicly, obviously it is, but it's not all Lane's fault because this is the way the calendar is set up. And he referenced the NFL. He's like, imagine first week of the NFL playoffs, free agency opens, it's signing day, and the draft starts in the middle of the playoffs. Because that's what we're doing in college football right now. And his suggestion was no spring practice, OTAs in June, and you move the portal till May at the end of the spring semester, and then your coaching moves would take place truly in the offseason after the playoffs are over. Now, he failed to mention you kind of got a little thing in there called signing day in recruiting where everybody's a midterm enrollee. But I don't think we'll ever go that direction, but it is an interesting debate point. Because the Lane stuff is so public, it makes it look like things are really, really bad because that's such a public courtship, right? Look, tampering with coaches has been a thing, Eric, since the beginning of time. Agents are working. I mean, think about it. When John Curry went through his failed coaching search, he had a conversation with Chip Kelly in October about whether or not he wanted to coach in the SEC. So let's not act like this is something new that you're going to – it's just different because Lane's chosen to do it publicly, and it's drawing more attention to it. I just don't know if what Nick Saban is talking about could ever – I don't know that you could ever go that direction. So how do you avoid what you're dealing with right now? Because what Ole Miss is dealing with right now, I'm no Ole Miss fan, but it's really not fair that their best season is –
You mean blown to pieces?
It's what it is right now because of – and whether Lane went public with it or not, don't you think there was going to be speculation about Lane Kiffin at those two jobs whether or not he's openly talking about it or sending his family on a scouting trip or whatever that business was, it was still going to be a lot of conversation that he was never going to put to bed.
I know I know no Tennessee fans going to feel sorry if Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State, but it's one of those instances where I kind of hope Ole Miss does, because those kids that don't deserve the stuff they're having to deal with and the angst that comes with.
So you hope they lose?
No. I hope they win the Egg Bowl.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you. Sorry.
No, I'm saying fans don't care. Fans don't think it's funny, right? Oh, it's not a Tennessee problem. It's Ole Miss problem. Ha ha ha. But like, I just think for those kids, they're not. They are just dangling out in the wind on the flagpole through all of this. And it's pretty windy.
You have Ole Miss players the last couple of days, literally your quarterback, offensive lineman, putting out tweets to the fans like, hey guys, we're good. We're focused. Like, man, what a time we're living right now. What a time.
Well, then you had all those Auburn players start following John Summerall on Sunday, which led everybody to believe that hire was getting ready to be made. And then somebody said there was an Arkansas hire coming, and then come back and said, no, it's probably 48 hours away. And I mean, it's just like, it's always been a focal point, but it's different this year because a playoff team is the poster child for all of this right now. That's drawing so much more attention.
Yes.
I mean, so much more attention. There are other coaches around this country whose agents are in active negotiations and discussions with schools that have open jobs. The difference is nobody knows about it the way that you know about the Ole Miss situation in Lane Kiffin, because everybody knew. Like the minute Florida opened up, everyone went Lane Kiffin.
Yep. Right.
The minute LSU opened up, Lane Kiffin. I mean, all of that stuff. But I mean, think about. I mean, it's a zoo right now for all of it, and it's always been that way. It's just different because a lot of times, I mean, you're firing a coach and then you're looking for. I mean, this is a different deal. Like, very rarely do you see somebody make a move like this, or potentially making a move in the middle of this. Think about Nick Saban retired after the playoffs, and they went and hired somebody. When's the last time you had somebody who was a winning coach make a move in the middle of a run, as a head coach, make a move in the middle of a run to another school? Has it happened?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think so. I mean, we're living in uncharted waters right now.
So the question is, do you change the waters, or does this just become the norm?
Yeah, because it's all fun and games. You're sitting back watching and laughing and everything, but when it happens to you and your program,
it's very, very different.
It's very, very different. Austin, out the door, last home game. Some official visitors, no unofficials. Anything going on in recruiting right now with signing day 2 weeks away?
Yep. 3 defensive linemen coming in town this weekend. You got Jalen Thomas, you got Carter Gooden, and then you got Nuke Simmons. Now, Nuke Simmons is someone nobody knows a whole lot about. He is the family member of Jarvis Jones, who played at Georgia. Had only played 8-man football up until recently, and so is, again, a kind of a late bloomer, fly under the radar type guy, and will be in town this weekend, but is long, athletic, and again, if Rodney Garner signs off on him and thinks he's got some potential, I would tell you he's probably got some potential. Tennessee's got the Australian punter coming in this weekend. They also have the 2 offensive linemen, Genevre Carr, and then the big 6'7" offensive lineman that was in here, Jonas Muya, who was here unofficially for the New Mexico State game. And then elsewhere, Tennessee's still swinging at J.J. Finch. That one, I don't think you'll see a whole lot of movement there. I think if he were to flip, it would just be like a signing day type deal. I don't think he's not one that really is all about the hoopla of recruiting. So I just think, maybe you send him some papers and see if he sends them back. We'll see what happens with Brees Carter, Jordan Carter. He was at Georgia Tech this past weekend. He's going to Auburn this weekend. Feels like Tennessee still remains in a fairly good spot there based off my talks. But again, a long way to go until next Wednesday. So you got 8 days. And then Tennessee's going to have to hold on to, some guys. I mean, you got Celeste Moa, who's going to go on an official going to go on an official visit this weekend to Michigan for the Ohio State Michigan game. Michigan's taking the late swing there. I think Tennessee's fine, but anytime a kid shows up on another campus this late in the game, you have to be very mindful of that. And I think that's at least worth watching. And then we'll see what else happens over the
Golston,
next
I heard,
days.
is Golston going anywhere this weekend?
Is he? I've not heard that, Eric.
Okay.
So I mean, maybe again, travel and stuff this past weekend. I've not seen that, but I mean, I guess maybe it's possible.
And then out the door, AP, what's the latest on David Gabriel Georges? I mean, I just want to ask because, again, when you rush for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns against McCauley, I mean,
Georges obviously decided to pivot to the other kid that's highly thought of in the 2027 class, which makes it back to what everybody thought, Tennessee, Ohio State. My stance hasn't changed. I still feel like Tennessee's got the most momentum there between those two, but that one seems like it's going to last a while. So, again, if you're Tennessee, the more you can get him to campus, the better. But that kid is actually, I'm going to correct myself. That man is a bad man and pretty good.
Settle in on that one, because that one does not feel like an early off the table deal to me in terms of making a decision.
We say all that, and he'll come in next week.
Again, quarterfinal round.
I do think again, having all those Baylor kids committed here is a big thing. He's a big relationship guy, and his comfort level with Joakim Dodson, with Jamie Theodore, and then the Mountain that is Gabriel Osinda. I think that matters. And then he likes Tennessee staff a lot. There are Tennessee people at Baylor that obviously love the Vols around him constantly, and so I think that stuff matters.
All right, that's going to do it here for this Tuesday morning Volquest podcast. Appreciate you guys for being here. Be locked in. We've got the holiday coming up later this week, but we'll have plenty of content throughout the week. This is the final regular season game week of the year. Plenty of conversation. Tennessee Vanderbilt, Tennessee basketball playing in Las Vegas this week, so plenty of coverage from Grant Ramey, who's out there, Rob Lewis. Got recruiting talking more, all that and more on the General's Quarters and at Volquest.com. Again, if you're watching, listening to us right now, but not a member of the site, we do appreciate it. But come and check us out. This is just the tip of the iceberg. $1, 7 days, $1 your first week, Volquest.com. For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Tuesday morning Volquest podcast.